Yo, what is going on, guys? Today I'll be breaking down the 6-game NBA slate we have here on DraftKings for Sunday night. So if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Hart. I do daily slate breakdowns for the NBA and NFL where I talk through my favorite core plays and value plays. And then I go a little bit more in depth on my free Patreon, which you can find linked down below. So make sure to check that out. Check out my Twitter at HartDFS, and I'll see you guys in the slate breakdown. So guys, for this slate breakdown today, just the main point of the slate is going to be about the injury news. So starting off with like this Brooklyn-Miami game. Brooklyn, there's no injury. So obviously KD and Kyrie both look like very, very solid spin up plays there at their price tags. Claxton more of a secondary option there. Don't mind him as a contrarian play. Same thing with Ben Simmons, is just the minutes. If you want to take that risk, if he's gonna play 30 minutes, I'd love him at that price tag. But if he's not, he's just super risky there. I'd rather get to the value play of Royce O'Neal, who should see mid-30s minutes. It just comes down to him hitting the shot if he's going to get you there. So I don't mind him. TJ Warren, Seth Curry, kind of the same option. They're a little bit riskier than Royce O'Neal, but they could definitely go off if they're hitting their shots. So, for Brooklyn, it's pretty easy to break them down. You got your options at every price range. You got your studs right there. Claxton, Ben Simmons, and Claxton, Ben Simmons are more of just those kind of the riskier secondary options who have a very solid price tag and good upside. It's just you don't know if they're going to get the minutes. And then Royce O'Neal, Steph, and TJ Warren are more of those value plays that Royce O'Neal is obviously going to get the minutes. It just comes down to if these guys can hit their shots, then it'll be decent value. For the Miami side, obviously the big news is Bam, Tyler, and I'd say Cody Martin as well, Gabe Vincent. They could be pretty short-handed today. Thankfully, it's one of the first games on the slate, so we'll get that news pretty early. So it's just hard to break it down because, Bam could be out, the rest of the guys could be in. Then, at the price tags, no one really stands out besides maybe Victor and Strus. If Bam's in, everyone's in. Sure, I still think he can take a shot on Victor. The price is $5,000. He's playing 30-plus minutes the past few games. I don't know if we can expect that every game, but I'd say at least 25. But then if, Bam's out, Tyler Hero's out, Jimmy would look pretty appealing. Kyle Lowry would look great there at 5'4". Victor would probably be not starting, probably still have to come off the bench, but he looked great. Same with Strus. Hyde-Smith would probably start, get some minutes. He'd be okay value. Maybe Orlando Robinson gets moved in the value. So it's just way too many scenarios right now to kind of know. So just stay updated with me on Twitter for that news there. And then moving on to Utah and Memphis. Utah side, it's kind of the same. It's been for the past 2 days. Everyone's kind of priced about right. Like Laurie is, been scoring the ball great the past few weeks. He's score independent. So at 9.3, his price check isn't solid. It's not great. No one really loves that. So for that reason, he'll probably have low ownership. Obviously, it's a good matchup here versus Memphis. They're coming off a back-to-back, so maybe some slight blowout risk. But yeah, just don't love the price tags of any of these guys. I mean, they're viable, but just don't like the price tags. So you can definitely go there. They're going to be more of like secondary contrarian options in tournament settings. Markin and Clarkson, we know they're going to run the team. Conley has been a little bit more aggressive recently, hasn't been shooting the ball well, but he has some upside there. Same thing with the taller guys, Olynyk, Vanderbilt, they're both foul prone. Vanderbilt had another solid game. Beasley, always a tournament option. It's just, no real standout plays until you kind of get to the value where THT has been getting more run recently. Past 2 games, he's been decent production-wise. Same thing with Abaji. He's only missed 1 shot the past 2 games. 4-5 and then 7-7. Obviously, that's really helped out his minutes. But if he's going to see, 15 minutes, he's going to shoot the ball a couple times, hits a couple threes, maybe gets a steal, but rebound or assist. Flat min, he could definitely help you out. Don't think we need to go there just yet on this slate for a flat min player, but we definitely can just based on the news we'll have to wait for. For the Memphis side, obviously the big news is Ja and Steven Adams. If Ja's going to be out, you're going to want to load up on at least 2 of these Memphis guys, which for me, it would be Bane and it would be Tyus Jones, who would slide into the starting point guard role. If he's in and Steven Adams is out, sure, you can get to Xavier Tillman. He'd be a pretty solid value play there at 3,200. I also wouldn't mind rolling the dice again with Santi, who obviously had a terrible game, burned a lot of people, but we know he's a solid upside when he's seen even mid-20s minutes. He should be aggressive. So I don't mind getting to those guys if Steven Adams might be out or if Ja's out. If they're all in at their price tags, I think Bane would be the most appealing for me. And sure, you could still take a shot on a guy like Asante and Xavier, but they'd be pretty risky value there. Moving on to Dallas. Big news is Luka. If he's in, Right now, it would just be Luka, Wood, and Dinwiddie, kind of the same breakdown I've had for this team. If he's out, Dinwiddie should, look great. Wood would look great. I think the third favorite option for me, if those guys are out, would be a Jaden Hardy, who would see mid-20s minutes. Now, I did mention yesterday that I do expect you could definitely take a shot on him. So he got you 20 fantasy points. That definitely helped out. But I think he's going to be a guy who will now see at least 10 minutes a game, if not more, depending if it's a blowout, if they need some scoring off the bench. But yeah, if Luka's out, would love to load up on Jaden Hardy there at 3,100. So that's big news. For OKC, pretty easy breakdown because they just play so many guys. But SGA obviously looks great there, 10,000. Even in tough matchups, he's been fantastic this season. Getting more of a secondary option, don't mind him. It's just the minutes sometimes are questionable. He's been good recently, even with SGA along his side, so don't mind him. And then Williams and Dort, kind of the same plays. Williams has been a little bit more consistent. Don't think there's going to be a need to get to these guys just with kind of the value that might be opening up on the slate. It's going to be more stars and scrubs, but sure, you can get to them if you want. And then the big men are going to split between Kenrich Williams and Muscala. Really no other interest in any of these other guys unless, someone gets ruled out in the starting lineup, but Williams and Muscala should kind of split the power forward center role there with about mid-20s for each, so they look decent. Moving on to Minnesota and Houston. Obviously, we get a great matchup here for Minnesota. Big news is Anthony Edwards. If he's in, I love him. I love D'Lo. You could definitely get to Rudy as well. If he's out, we're going to want to look to D'Lo, Rudy, Kyle Anderson, even a Naz Reid at 5'2". Noel should be decent off the bench. Not the best price tag. He is scoring dependent, but he's definitely there. We could look to like a Taurean Prince, Austin Rivers, who should play a good amount of minutes. Taurean Prince is solid value there, 26 or 3,200. He's going to play the minutes. He's going to shoot the ball. He's scoring dependent, but he's not afraid to absolutely chuck it when he's out there. So we could definitely look to that. I mean, Luke Garza got some minutes the previous game, 13, did well, but yeah, kind of the big news there is going to be that Anthony Edwards, Houston side, no news. We got KPJ at 7.7, Jalen Green 7.2. I think I prefer Green just because a little bit cheaper for price tag, but they both look solid in this matchup. Sengun, you could chase. I don't love it. Smith, he looks decent. We know there's some upside if he's hitting his shots. Last game did blow out, so he didn't get a lot of run. Easton is there as value. Same thing with Gordon. I mean, Tate, how many minutes did he see? 19. They just play so many guys off the bench. They're becoming like an OKC where it's like, sure, you can get down to these guys. I just don't think they're the best value or there's a need on the slate for today. Cleveland and Phoenix, big news is Garland. If he's in and Mitchell's in, no real standouts for me in that guard area. I do like the price tags on Mobley and Allen. But if everyone's back, there's really no interest for me in this team. If Garland's out, Donovan Mitchell would be a decent play there, 9.5. We know he's the upside. It'd bump up the usage for me for guys like Allen and Mobley. Karis LeVert would still be viable, not the best price tag anymore at 6,000, but he'd be viable. Kevin Love, you can take a shot on him off the bench. His minutes have been a little bit more secure recently. It did help that, the Mobley missed a few games, so he did get some starting run, but yeah. And then Seti would be okay value at 4,000. It's just one of those things. I don't think we need to force any Cleveland guys on our team today. For Phoenix, Booker's out. Chris Paul is day-to-day, so obviously that's the huge news. Campaign is also out for the next 2 weeks now. So as ugly as it may seem, Dwayne Washington might be the lock of the day alongside Tyus if Ja's ruled out. He's just super, super aggressive when he's out there. Even in like 15 minutes, he's not afraid to shoot the ball like 10 plus times. So I think maybe they'll rest Chris Paul, especially in this tough matchup. And I think Dwayne Washington will be the lock of the day. So make sure to stay updated with me on Twitter. And if they're out, obviously it's going to be huge blowout risk. Cam Johnson is questionable. Maybe he's back. He'd be on a minutes restriction, so no real need to get to him. But yeah, I mean, Ayton and Bridges, I think I prefer Bridges, but not a lot to like right now. Kind of to wait for more info on the Chris Paul situation. And then Atlanta and OAC. Atlanta, I mean, we know the offense is still going to roll through Trey and DeJounte. The price on DeJounte is pretty appealing. I mean, we know he's solid upside, 40, 54, 44, 49. So I don't mind him. John Collins, don't love the matchup now going against Kawhi here or Paul George. So yeah, these guys are more just secondary plays for me. I think right now I just prefer getting to maybe a Hunter just because he's playing a ton of minutes, or a DeJounte Murray. I mean, Trae Young is always a solid option. We know he's going to get his. It just comes down to if he can get enough points. And then for the Clippers, Paul George is questionable. If he's good to go, I think he's viable. Still prefer Kawhi. If he's out, obviously Kawhi will look very solid. I do like Zubac a good amount here. The minutes should be a little bit more secure than they have been recently. Obviously, they get blown out versus Denver. He was off to a solid start against Jokic. Minnesota was another slight blowout game, so they just haven't been doing well enough for him to get the minutes. But yeah, I do like him a good amount here. Even if Paul George is back, I do like Kawhi and Zubac a good amount versus the Atlanta side. And then if Paul George misses, you can get to a Morris. Sure, you could take a shot on Powell, but on this slate, they're just more secondary contrarian plays. There's just no real need to get to them. And then to kind of fill out the rest of this lineup, it'd be pretty hard just because we're waiting on a ton of news. But let's just say right now we're going to go to Bane there, power forward position. Obviously, as I said, there's a ton of news. We'll have to wait for that news, so stay updated with me on Twitter. But for the sake of the video, to fill out the lineup, we'll just kind of throw some people in there. I still really like Wood at that price tag, and the minutes for me are just great on him. Let's see if we can fit in a stud in here. Can we get to KD? We can. So we'll get KD in there. We'll throw him in a forward spot. And then guard situation, 4,100. Let's see here. Oop. We can get to, one of these cheaper guys. We could get to like a Hardy if Luka's actually rolled out. You can also take that, risky dart throw. Even if he is in, we could don't mind paying up for like a Royce O'Neal, and then 3,900 left over. We can get to TJ Warren, Trey Mann. We'll just go with Kenrich Williams to kind of fill out the lineup. But yeah, as I said, a ton of news we had to wait for, so don't think this build will be viable by the time the slate starts. So make sure to stay updated with me on Twitter at HeartDFS. Hit that like button, and I'll see you guys in my Prize Picks video, which should be out after this. Thanks, guys.